Everybody that's on this call, I was eager to have this conversation with you. So we have been working since March to develop a comprehensive health and safety plan that would be considered a best practice among professional sports leagues. While we've been thorough in building and implementing a program that mitigates as much risk as possible, we knew it would be impossible to eliminate all risk, as evidenced by the 3 positive tests this week. We need to use these developments as a stark reminder for everyone involved as we continue to learn from an operational standpoint. We're making several adjustments to our health and safety plan, as noted in the memo sent to players this morning, and we will continuously reinforce to all players, caddies, staff members, and support personnel on property at PGA Tour events to adhere to social distancing and other safety protocols that further minimize risk. So, for this week, as I said, we've had 3 positive tests. Cameron Champ, PGA Tour player, Ken Comboy, caddy for Graeme McDowell, and Ricky Elliott, caddy for Brooks Koepka. At the Utah Championship and the Korn Ferry Tour, we have had no positive tests. I will also note that for positive COVID-19 tests with arrival testing complete today, we've had 2,757 in total in-market tournament tests over 3 weeks with 7 positives. Now, just a quick overview of the withdrawals from this week's Travelers Championship field. Cameron Champ withdrew after testing positive for COVID-19 on Tuesday. Graeme McDowell withdrew out of an abundance of caution after his caddy, Ken Comboy, tested positive for COVID-19. Brooks Koepka withdrew out of an abundance of caution after his caddy, Ricky Elliott, tested positive for COVID-19. Webb Simpson withdrew out of an abundance of caution. He has been tested twice and has not tested positive for COVID-19 this week. And Chase Koepka withdrew out of an abundance of caution. Neither he nor his caddy, Dan Gimbel, have tested positive for COVID-19. So that's where we stand as of Wednesday afternoon, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jay. For the media on the line, if you have a question, please use the chat function. I will call on you at that time. Please unmute yourself and turn your video on. Once you're completed your question, please put your phone back on mute. To get us started, we will go to Mark Cannizzaro, New York Post. Mark?
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Mark.
I think appreciate you doing this, one of the obvious questions, and you just outlined the numbers, obviously, the percentage of positives is very low. And I know I did ask you this after Colonial, when you came out with nothing. As there's also been a slight rise, is there a number you have in mind and you consider an outbreak, or just a range, in other words, where it becomes a concern? You know, is today a concern, or are you still looking at this as a positive? This is such a low number, and is there a number or a range of a number that you would begin to elevate concern?
Well, you're right in that it is a low number, and it's a low number on a percentage basis, but every number hurts. So I think for us, as we look at where we are now 3 weeks in and on the eve of our first round at the Travelers Championship, I think we all need to remind ourselves that we're all learning to live with this virus, and we all need to learn to live with this virus, both as individuals, as family members, and certainly within our businesses. And it's pretty clear that this virus isn't going anywhere. And so that's why I go back to the weeks that preceded our return, the amount of work that we spent to develop our health, safety, and testing protocols, to educate our players and constituents on them, to be here at this point in time. We're excited to get into the Travelers Championship this week. And I just tell you, Mark, that for us, and I addressed some of this in a memo to our players, we're just going to continue to refine and get better and better and identify ways where we can further mitigate any risk. That's something I think I said when I was with you guys in Fort Worth, and that's something we continue to do. So going back directly to your question, we're playing in 2 markets today. We've had 3 positive tests this week. I think everybody should expect that you're going to have more tests as we go forward. And we're going to be very sensitive to the specifics of every single test, but we're going to be spending a ton of time making sure that we're reinforcing the strong protocols we have. You're on mute, Mark.
As a quick follow.
Sorry.
There was a report out there that Ricky Elliott had actually retested today, and it came back negative. Are you aware of that situation? And is that because there was a positive, does that still consider risk? And
Ricky and Brooks are not going to be here this week, and I can't get into the specifics of any individual test, but I don't think any of us should be surprised based on the nature of the virus that someone would test positive and then test negative. Our medical advisors, our medical experts, have suggested to us that based on the timing and the incubation period, you could have scenarios like that. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear something like that had happened based on what we've learned from our medical advisors.
All right, thank you, Mark. You'll turn your video off. Our next question will go to Ewan Murray, The Guardian. Ewan, if you'll unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Jay, for doing this.
Yes.
Just following on from Mark's initial point, do you have a position, even privately, whereby it would not be viable to continue with this or other tournaments on the grounds of reputation, if not health and safety?
Listen, I think that that's something, Ewan, that you're mindful of, every minute of your working life is our brand and the safety of our players the safety of our players is our number one concern. Our brand is our greatest asset. So we have the amount of time, Ewan, that we put into the plan that we developed, the plan we've executed, the dialogue we're having with our board, with our player advisory council, the feedback we're getting with our players. Everything that we're doing in concert with our membership. And based on our board call on Monday night, based on our player advisory council call on Tuesday night, based on conversations that myself and our team members are having with our players, we feel a great responsibility to inspire people and to be in their living rooms on Saturday and Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we feel like we're on a path that's going to allow us to continue to sustain our return to golf. But rest assured, there won't be many sleepless nights. There usually aren't. These are when you're working in a world of uncertainty, these are the things you worry about. But also rest assured that the PGA Tour will always do the right thing as it relates to our players, our fans, our constituents, and make sure that we create the safest environment possible.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next question goes to Bob Herrig, ESPN. Bob, if you'll unmute yourself.
All right, thanks, Jay. Appreciate the time. First, I got two. First one is, it sounds like the memo to the players, you outlined a couple of differences in the protocols. Can you tell us what's different now going forward?
Yeah, so we, again, in conversation with our player directors, chair of our PAC, Charlie Hoffman, and ultimately on our PAC call, we together all agreed that there were a few adjustments that we needed to make. One is, when you're part of the charter protocol, you obviously get tested on Saturday, you learn the results on Sunday night, you're on the charter on Monday. We're going to add additional testing upon arrival in the following week's tournament market, so that everybody that's arriving is going through the same testing protocol. We will move our player instructors inside of our testing bubble, and they will be subject to the same testing protocols. We will have our fitness trailer on site next week. One of the things that we've identified or we want to eliminate is players going to off-site gyms. Having our physio trailers here, I think, will help that. All of our players that are entering those physio trailers will be wearing masks. And then, we have developed a stipend program for players on our tours if they were to test positive during the week or during competition. And to be able to be eligible for those protocols, we've just reconfirmed for our players that you must follow our protocols in order to qualify for the stipend. So those are 4 of the things that we've talked about. But I think it really comes back to, Bob. It's like the game itself. You've got to always go back and look at, work with your instructor. In our case, look at the manual, and if we can properly socially distance, if everybody is when they're inside is wearing a mask and doing all the things that we've outlined from the outset, we continue to stay true to what we've set. We feel like, we're going to be in a position to sustain our return.
Jay, real quick, if you find that a player or a caddy is not following your guidelines like you would like, I understand there is the ability for you to sanction them or fine or whatever it might be. What are we looking at there? What are those possibilities, and how would that play out?
All of us have an extraordinary responsibility to follow those protocols. For any individual that does not, there will be serious repercussions. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but everybody knows and needs to know that our future, our ability to sustain this business and to impact the communities where we play and to create so many jobs is contingent on our ability to follow those protocols. So when we have instances where someone hasn't, they will be dealt with. And as I said, the consequences will be significant.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
All right, for our next question, we'll go to Alan Shipnuck, golf.com. Alan?
Jay.
Hi, Alan.
I'm wondering how the national climate affects your decision-making, even if the tour numbers stay somewhat where they are. As you see, cases are surging in various states that you're going to be visiting or down the road. How much is too much just within the United States as a whole, where you say, we can't sustain our bubble no matter how hard we try?
Alan, so we're sitting here in Hartford, Connecticut, and in the weeks that preceded our arrival here, as I said throughout, every market we go to, we're an invited guest. As we come back to Hartford in an environment of COVID-19, with all of us dealing with COVID-19, our team had to work with local and state government and health officials to get our health and safety program supported and approved, and ultimately to get the permit to be able to play here. We're doing that over the course of our schedule as we go forward. And I mean, we all have to be looking at what's happening market to market to market. That's what we're doing, connected to both our tournaments. And obviously, if based on where we are, with I think now 27 states seeing a rise, it's a concern that we'll continue to closely monitor. But for us, I go back to the fact, that we're here, and we're here with the full support of local and state officials. And I know that the governor just a couple hours ago reaffirmed his support, is excited to see us get the Travelers Championship underway.
Is it safe to say, though, that you're concerned about what's happening nationally?
Yes. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that isn't taking a close look and has some concern. But I'm also, as I said earlier, Alan, I think the reality is that we all have to learn to live in an environment of COVID-19. And so I'm concerned, but I'm also confident with the program, the protocols that we've put in place, and our ability to be able to sustain the PGA Tour and give our players opportunities on both of these tours over the course of the year, so long as we continue to be as diligent as we intend to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For our next question, we're going to go to Jason Sobel, Action Network. Jason?
Hi, Jay. I know you've been reluctant. Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, Jay, I know that you've been reluctant to list a tipping point over the last couple of months and even so far today, but is there a point when you get to enough positive cases within the bubble where you say, hey, look, we need to curtail this, we need to shut it down? And if so, is there a specific number, or how do you determine that?
So I think that Jason, on that front, I go back to where we are right now and the system that we have in place. And there are all kinds of scenarios that could play out. And we feel like we've tried to contemplate all those scenarios in creating the program and the protocols that we have, such that if you're going to have positive cases, they are contained, or they're containable, and we're going to avoid that scenario. But if you start to, there certainly are scenarios where if you had a significant number of positive tests, or you could play scenarios where that would come into play, and you'd have to be thinking along those lines. But for us, we're confident in the plan we have, and we're very hopeful that we're not going to be in that position.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, next we're going to go to Alex Maselli. Alex, the morning read.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Alex.
I know that you've been very serious, and everybody on your team has been very serious about dealing with this. Do you feel like everyone that's been inside the bubble the last 2.5 weeks are as serious as you are?
Alex, I think that this has been a big adjustment for everybody. And I think everybody's intentions have been very, very good. And everybody has taken their responsibilities seriously. I don't question that at all. I think when you get into the environment of the tournament with no spectators here, with very few people here, with people that are around you having tested negative, I think over the first couple of weeks we've seen some instances where, let's say, we've gotten a little bit lax or away from protocol. Full disclosure, I've done it myself. And I think that's the kind of tightening that we need to do in order to make sure that we continue to be in a good position to move forward. But there are given the number of people, the number of players and caddies that we have, it's hard to generalize where we are. There are some conversations we've had to tighten things up, but I feel really good about the level of commitment and support. I'll tell you, we're on. I've mentioned our policy board call and our PAC call on Tuesday night, and our 4 player directors and Charlie Hoffman penned a letter to our players. Just, I thought, very, in a really direct and powerful way, just talking about both the opportunity we have and the responsibility we have. And I think we're all like the game itself. The rules of the game, the values of the game. I think it's being applied to the way that we're handling our testing program, and that's the standard we're going to hold ourselves to.
Just to follow up, in about 3 weeks, for the first time since this all happened, the Memorial's going to have fans, even though there'll be a reduction in what the number would have. You still feel comfortable with having 8,000 plus fans at a golf tournament, knowing what you know now about COVID?
Alex, I will tell you that, our team, working closely with Dan Sullivan in the Memorial Tournament, Dan has done an outstanding job architecting and developing a plan that is, very thoughtful in the way that we would introduce fans to that venue. So thoughtful that it's been supported by local and state officials. So we're confident in that plan. But like every tournament going forward, we're continuing to look at what we're learning right now and start to think forward, how we're going to plan for all the subsequent events. But we are looking forward to reintroducing fans the week of Memorial Tournament. But rest assured, we're only going to do it if we think it's a health and safe, both a health and safe environment for our players, caddies, our staff, and also for those fans that would be attending. And we think we've considered all those factors.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, for our next question, we'll go to Brian Wacker, Golf Digest. Brian.
Hey, Jay. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, Brian.
Two quick questions. First, are you awaiting any more test results this afternoon that could potentially impact the field of this event? And if so, when do you expect those?
We are not awaiting any additional test results.
Okay. And secondly, in conversations with health officials or experts, what does this look like exponentially, X number of days or weeks from now for the tour, in terms of what the statistical data tells you? In other words, we're, within the last 6 days, there've been a handful of positive tests, be it caddies, players, or people within their quote-unquote bubble. So what I'm curious how you look at it 2, 3, 4 weeks down the road from now.
Well, we tend to look at it, day to day, before we get into several weeks down the road, because while we've completed our testing protocol so far this week, obviously we have other measures that our players, caddies, and staff will take between now and the end of play on Sunday. So that's something that we will continue to be focused on executing. And then, as it relates to going forward, I think it's important that you understand and that we convey that our team, myself, we're spending a lot of time talking about where we are. When you go through the contact tracing, and when you think about individuals that tested positive, and you think about the environment, what are some of the additional things that we can do to mitigate risk? And you've heard me say that probably too many times, but that has been our focus, because if we focus on that, we feel like we put ourselves in a position where, we can have a controllable number of, we'd have a controlled environment or controllable number of cases, positive cases going forward. We can't wait for the number. We have to be proactive in doing everything we can to keep that positive number as small as possible. And that really is just about executing our health and safety program.
Along those lines, sorry, just one.
No, go ahead.
Do you anticipate, further changes than what was outlined, just given the nature of all of this?
The way we operate as a business is we're always seeking improvement and seeking ways to make everything that we do better. And, we have said from the outset that this plan that we developed in close concert with our medical experts was a plan that we thought was, is as safe and responsible as we could possibly be. But we will probably continue to make adjustments. That's why, we're here on site. We're talking to players. We're looking at things with our own eyes. We're talking daily as a team about what we're learning. When we complete our event, we're reconvening our board. We're talking to our pack. We're doing this together. We're all in this together. And so I think if things we see or suggestions are made, we're going to keep an open mind, and we'll likely execute it if we think it puts us in a better position. But the changes we made this week, we feel, are a very good step in addition to what we've already identified.
Thanks.
All right, our next question, we're going to go to Luke Cardinine from golf.com. Luke?
Hi, Jay. Thanks for
Luke.
this. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was just curious, Justin Thomas sort of opened the door or suggested the idea today of stricter enforcement around things like social distancing and arms get rid players warnings and potentially short penalties for players who aren't adhering to these safety protocols.
You broke up for some of that, Luke, but I think I got the gist of your question. Justin is one of the 16 members of our Player Advisory Council, and I think that we have full support from our Player Advisory Council and from our board to make certain we're doing everything we can to enforce the protocols that we've established. And I have every intention of doing exactly that.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to work through a few more questions. We're going to go to Sky Sports with Jamie Weir. Jamie?
Good evening to you, Jay. It was true that Ricky Elliott tested positive and a second test then came back negative, does that raise the question whether the tests themselves, the testing procedure, is fit for purpose, is good enough?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't put that into question at all. And you know, we've spent a lot of time with our medical advisors and experts. And as I said earlier, testing really is a factor of where you are in the incubation period. So if that in fact were to have happened, that is something that we would have expected versus be surprised by.
And just secondly, for me, if you don't mind, you know, we've seen the players fist bumping, high fiving, standing next to each other, T-ball. To get back to the point. Did I break a cup there?
Yeah, you did. Sorry. You started with fist bumping.
Okay, no. Yeah, so we've seen the players fist bumping, high fiving, standing next to each other in tee boxes, going out to dinner together. We're here as well. Do you feel let down by the players?
Not at all.
Thank you, Jamie. For our next question, we're going to go to David Dusek from Golf Week. David?
Hi, Jay. Thank you very much for making yourself available. Back when the PGA Tour announced the restart, it was acknowledged that the optics of all this was going to be really important. You wanted to set an example and show that sport in the age of COVID-19 could essentially. Have you felt satisfied with the optics so far that you've seen? And do you feel that you're presenting the example that you would want to the rest of sport?
I think you're never satisfied, but and I would say, David, that we're 3 weeks in, or really 2.5 weeks in, and this has always been about a sustained return, and so I am very, very comfortable, very pleased, very very confident in the health and safety program that we have, even though we've had positive tests. I think in this world, I think that's an expected outcome. We've learned a lot. We're continuing to refine. And to the point you're making about a responsibility, anybody that's leading a business, whether you're in sport or any other business, any other industry, it's all about trying to live in this world and be able to sustain your return in a world of COVID-19. And I sincerely feel like we're on the right path in that regard. And there's a tremendous level of attention and intensity to our actions, and it will continue to be so. We never said we were perfect. Some of the things that you've seen, I've done myself. So, we just have to keep getting better and better and better as we go forward. But it is not from a lack of attention, a lack of communication, or a lack of collaboration we have with the great players that are on the PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour.
Thank you.
All right, and for our final question, we're going to go to Doug Ferguson, Associated Press. Doug?
Jay, given the developments of the last 5 or 6 days with testing, what keeps you guys from testing every day?
Well, there's two things. Just the practical side of it is, one of the things that we committed to, Doug, when we committed our testing protocol was to not take away resources from every community where we're moving to and where we're playing. And so there's a finite number of supplies we could get at that point in time. Secondly, when you go back to our medical advisors, as we've done, and this is something we continue to talk to them about, and you look at CDC guidelines and you look at the expectation of any business like ours that's reopening, testing every other day is a sound and accepted protocol for the environment that we're in.
Secondly, should the public or anyone be surprised if there's more tests that come back positive next week?
No, listen, I think this is the reality of what we're all living under. And for us, we're doing everything we can to make that not be the case. But I don't think anybody should be surprised. I'm certainly hopeful we won't. But it's to be able to say that we're going to not have any cases, and to be able to look you in the eye across the television screen or a fan and say we're not going to have any cases, I think would be disingenuous, because we're all learning as we're going. But again, the team that we have around us that's guiding us is putting us in a position to get stronger, take a strong program and make it stronger and stronger.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, that concludes today's press conference with the commissioner. We'd like to thank you.
All right, you have been listening to Live to PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan talking about the Travelers Championship coming up this weekend and the number of players that have now withdrawn. So Cameron Champ, you see there highlighted, he is the only player who has officially tested positive for coronavirus. Something new we learned in that. Webb Simpson, the man who just won RBC Heritage last weekend, he is also withdrawn from the Travelers Championship this weekend out of an abundance of caution. We knew that Brooks Koepka had withdrawn because his caddy tested positive. Same for Graeme McDowell. We also learned from this press conference that Chase Koepka, yes, he is the brother of Brooks Koepka, also withdrew. He just qualified for the tournament on Monday. He issued a statement on social media saying that he was in close contact with somebody who tested positive. Unclear if that is Brooks's caddy.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.